Dear learners, in this session, we are going to discuss about post-Brundtland world. After having a discussion in the last class about the history and the concept of sustainable development, how it was evolved, and what are the very basic challenges to sustainable development, that is in micro level, right? Then you will see after Brundtland definition, we have seen a number of conferences and number of criticism, then number of this summits. It is growing across the globe at different level to talk about the need for sustainable development. And one of the key after post-Brundtland key conference, important conference was the UN Conference on Environment Development, also known as Rio Summit, that was taken place in 1992. The conference produced a variety of documents and provided a venue for the adoption of several key international convention agreements. For example, Agenda 21. And if you look into the output of the conference, how it has gone through, you will find that during the conference, both the Convention on Biological Diversity and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change were adopted, and forest principles were agreed in that conference. Among the many achievements of the conference, however, Rio Declaration 17 was perhaps the keystone. It is in 27 short paragraphs drafted by Singapore Ambassador Tommy Koh, who chaired the preparatory and the main committee and presided over the negotiation on Agenda 21. The Rio Declaration articulated a vision and commitment that offer hope of a better world. Some of its important passages have become icons of sustainable development and have been restated and referred to in numerous subsequent documents. So then, after Rio, there are a number of conferences. We will look into few of the important conferences which was taken towards achieving sustainable development as a common global efforts for a sustainable planet. The UN Commission on Sustainable Development was established to follow up on Agenda 21, and other work initiated at Rio subsequently. And the UN adopted the Millennium Development Goals in 2000, which put the environment sustainable development in a wider context. So, on the 10th anniversary of Rio, that is Rio plus 10, or in 2002, the world again convened in Johannesburg, South Africa, at the World Summit on Sustainable Development. From that came the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation with an aim of implementing the Rio commitments, and the Johannesburg Declaration on Sustainable Development. The World Summit on Sustainable Development was a key event on the road to Rio plus 20 because it revealed the increasingly important role of civil society and transnational governance, and foreshadowed the importance of the side events and the role of community and commitments at Rio plus 20. But it also revealed the failures of the global community to implement Agenda 21. The conference was focused on two themes: a green economy in the context of sustainable development and poverty eradication, and the institutional framework for sustainable development. It was very important. 7 primary issues of concern were identified, that are jobs, energy, cities, food, water, oceans, and disasters. And the conference was co-chaired by UN Ambassador John Ashe and Suk Kim of Korea and supported by Shah Jukang, the UN Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs and the Secretary General for Rio Plus 20. When the UN General Assembly laid out the plans for Rio Plus 20, it directed that three preparatory committees be held to carry out the groundwork for the main conference and appointed a bureau and a small executive committee to help to manage the preparatory committees and Rio Plus 20 conferences itself. The first two preparatory committees were held at UN headquarters in New York, United States in May 2010 and March 2011. The third took place in Rio just before Rio Plus 20. To keep moving between the preparatory committees, intersessional meetings were also held at UN headquarters in New York. The preparatory committee bureau sought public input, compiled over 6,000 pages of comments, then produced an initial draft report, The Future We Want, in January 2012, as the zero draft text of a final outcome document for Rio Plus 20, spanning 19 pages, and it contained 120 relatively short paragraph. And it was available for review and discussion by delegation to the second intersessional meeting. The outcome of Rio Plus 20 are the report, The Future We Want. The Future We Want, that report, is not a treaty or any other type of binding document. It is a statement of hopes, aspiration, admonition, and promises, but it does not contain any binding commitments. References are also made to many conventions and other agreements, but for the most part with the objective of reaffirming existing commitments. So they do not produce any new commitment. It is a reaffirmation of the commitment we made in 1992 and we made in 2000. Then you will see one of the important strategy or global effort as passing through different convention and treaty. One of the achievement is bringing MDG, the Millennium Development Goals. The MDGs were the 8 International Development Goals for the year 2015 that had been established following the Millennium Summit of the United Nations in 2000. That's why it's called Millennium Development Goals, following the adoption of the United Nations Millennium Declaration. All 189 United Nations member states at that time, and at least 22 international organizations committed to help and to achieve the Millennium Development Goals by 2015. What are their goals? What are the goals of MDGs, the 8 goals? First, to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, to achieve universal primary education, to promote gender equality and empower women, to reduce child mortality, to improve maternal health, to combat HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, to ensure environmental sustainability, to develop a global partnership for development. What are its progress? Let us look into developing countries. Developing countries have made substantial progress towards achievement of the MDG. Although the progress is highly variable across goals, countries or regions, means at different levels, but achieved up to some extent. The probable shortfall in achievement of the MDG is indeed very serious, regrettable, and deeply painful for people with low income. The shortfall represents a set of operational failures that implicate many stakeholders in both poor and rich countries. Promises of official development assistance by rich countries, for example, have not been kept. And what happened to low-income countries about MDGs. Nonetheless, there is widespread feeling among policymakers and civil society that progress against poverty, hunger, and disease is notable, that the MDG have played an important part in securing that progress and that globally agreed goal to fight poverty should continue beyond 2015. This is how the achievement of MDGs at different country, developed country, developing country, and underdeveloped country. And we need to carry with that success, we need to carry forward those goals. And this is how SDGs was bring. SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, officially known as Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is a set of 17 aspirational global goals, which in that time, they have 169 targets between them. We'll have details about SDGs in another session. If you quick look into the different goals, we'll have 17 goals. Goal 1, that's talk about end poverty in all its form anywhere. Goal 2, we should end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Goal 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Goal 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Goal 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Goal 6, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Goal 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Goal 8, promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Goal number 9, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Goal number 10, reduce inequality within and among countries. Goal number 11, make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Goal number 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Goal number 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. Conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development as Goal 14. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystem. Sustainable manage forests, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and hold and reverse land degradation and biodiversity loss as Goal number 15. Goal number 16 is to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Goal 17, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Today's session can be summarized that sustainable development is a growing concept which was introduced by World Commission on Environment Development in its report Our Common Future in Academic Literature. The basic principle of sustainable development is to maintain interlinkages of nature, society, economy in a truly holistic way. Since UN Stockholm Conference 1972, the global community discussed their common efforts for sustainable development at different platforms like what we discussed today, Rio 1992, Global Millennium Conference, Rio Plus 10 to 2002, Rio Plus 20, WSSD means World Summit on Sustainable Development, and many more. It brings implementable and achievable strategies program as we see MDGs and SDGs. I hope today we are able to understand in this session in the post-Brunt how from Rio 1992 conference to SDGs, how we are able to bring and achievable goals in different stages. Thank you. Let us meet in next session.